I'm going to mute.
All right, well, everybody, welcome. I am hoping that this works well. I'm going to be super honest that this is my very, very first time doing any sort of live broadcast. I've never used this program before. I haven't done, well, I've done lives before, but I haven't done them on my own. I'm normally the person just sitting there and getting to enjoy the experience. So if we have any technical difficulties today, I ask that you bear with us. As this is a totally brand new thing that we are doing. So welcome. I am Megan Kelly. I'm a vice principal in Hesperia Unified School District. I'm also the founder of iHeartEDU, which is the website and platform that is sharing this with us today. And with me, I have the amazing Melissa King, who also works in our district. You want to take a second to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I am Melissa King, as Megan Kelly just mentioned. I currently teach third grade in Hesperia Unified School District, and I adore my position in third. I am working on a project called Parents Can Too, and my website is kingscorner.org, and that the corner is with a K, just like king.
Thank you. And one other thing that we have during this meeting is we do have a live chat off to the, well, it depends if you're on Facebook or YouTube, but if you're on YouTube, it's off to the right. If you're on Facebook, it's just going to be in the comments. We will respond as quickly as we can, and hopefully we can answer some of your questions today. As always, I just want to be a very transparent person that we are learning with you guys. While we use these technologies, I don't feel like I'm any sort of expert in any way, but I do spend a lot of time trying to look into it and study and be able to share the best that I can on tools that will help teachers. And I'm sure Melissa feels very much the same way. So we're learning with you. Please share your thoughts in the comments and any questions that you might have. If you do want access to this presentation, it is bit.ly/meet versus Zoom. You can see it right here in this presentation, which I'm going to bring up a little bit bigger now. You are more than, let me make sure that it is actually open, because that would be a horrible tech failure if it wasn't. So it is open if you want it.
We're moving forward though. We're good.
Yes, exactly. And I think I saw someone present the other day, I'm going to take a total rabbit trail for like one tiny second, that when they were doing something new like this, they kept talking about how this is very much going to mimic our lives with the distance learning, that it's going to be a lot of trial and error. So just have fun with it and see where it goes. Okay, so we are going to jump in. We kind of introduced ourselves already. What we're going to do is we are going to basically do a tutorial of Meet and then Zoom, and then we're going to talk about some of the comparisons between each. We're really not going to try to steer you towards any exact answer or any sort of product specifically. We want you to come up with that on your own. So we're just going to share the facts and some of these details and our personal experiences as well. And then whichever route you choose to take that, ultimately, I just hope that you do what number one is best for kids, and number two is best going to support your instructional strategies in your classrooms. And of course, that will then support your students. So that being said, Melissa is going to jump in, and she is going to take over and start telling us all about Google Meet.
Okay, so nothing like learning how to use Meet without going to Meet. Megan, you see my Meet screen, right?
I do.
Okay, thank you. So you can see if you go to meet.google.com that if you have a meeting scheduled, then you will see them here. To join us or start a meeting, you would click on this, join or start a meeting, and then you can give it a name. So I'm just going to call this one test. So then you're kind of at this page where it's almost like a little bit of a waiting page. And if you have any extensions, this one, tactic, if you turn your captions on, which we're going to get to this later, this will record the transcript of what you're speaking. But I'm going to close that. So if we click on Join Now, then you'll see the meeting information. I'm going to actually copy this right here. I can add people here. So to test this call, I'm going to call Megan this way. There she is. And apologies, we're going a little bit slower since we are streaming. So I'm going to test her out here. I'm just going to mute my mic. So down here, there's a mute button. Let me shrink my screen just in case you're not seeing that. So there's a mute button. There's a turn off your camera button. You can turn on your captions here. And they're pretty awesome just because if you teach grammar, I'm going to unmute myself, then they do actual punctuation. So if you're having a grammar lesson and you say something, this could be a useful tool. It's way better than Google Docs right now. So I'm hoping Google Docs kind of comes out with this punctuation feature as well. I can present my screen if I hit present now. This little snowman, these 3 dots, if I click there, I can choose to record this meeting. And it will give me this ask for consent. People in the meeting are notified that it's being recorded. And when the recording is done, then the link goes into the drive and you're able to share that with whoever was on the call. So they'll already have that recording saved. So if you're doing like a PD or something, that's awesome because they could go back and rewatch it. If you forget to stop recording, it still does save in your drive. So I'll stop recording that. Right here, oh, I think she might be on. Right here, if I've attached anything to the meeting, you would see that. And if you didn't copy your joining info, it's right here. So you'd be able to copy that again. So that is one way to create a meeting. Oh, one more thing that I'd like to draw your attention to is this is the Gridview extension. These are the people in the chat. So currently it's only me. Then you have a chat. And you also have up here the ability, which we're going to go over later, to add these little reactions. So students can raise their hands, give a thumbs up on all of these. So that's an extra extension that we'll talk about later of how to get. I'm going to close this screen. Now, another way would be to add conferencing here. So you can add up to 250 participants, it tells you. And you can add notifications. So you can add an email notification if you wish, a push notification. So this is just my Google Calendar, which again, up in the waffle is where you could find these things. So Meet is there, Sites is there, Calendar is there. So if I'm inviting Megan to a call between 2 and 3, and I add this Hangouts conference, and I already typed in her name here as a guest, what I'll be able to do is click on Save, and it will send her, if I choose, an invitation to be able to join that meeting. So then it popped up here and she can join that meeting. And here's the calendar information when I click on it. And if I want to invite anybody else or share a link, I can click right here and copy that. Now this is kind of an important feature for me because whether I'm in that meet.google or I'm here on my calendar, I take this sort of 10-digit code, this link, and I copy this. And the way that I manage it in my classroom is that I send that link to students, but I pre-schedule my emails. So my kids don't get a calendar invite. I actually send them a scheduled email within Gmail 10 minutes before the meeting. So then they don't go into the room without me being there. So that's just my management behind it. I'm going to go back one more thing. So on my blog, I have this infographic, and I've made a few different ones, but I created these because before that we begin any content in my call, I always go over with students norms about their headphones that they're using, muting their mic when it's not their turn, using the chat in a professional manner, sharing their screen when asked, or if there's a reason to. And then I will always put on here if, like I said, I have different ones, if there's anything else in my norms that I want them to know. Also here, you'll find an agenda. So for students, I do color code my agendas and things so that way they can see what does our meeting look like. Just like in class, we want to be organized and we want to manage. So this is a really important thing to do. And you can share your screen. You don't have to share the agenda, but you could in that calendar invite. This is how I take my attendance. So they click here, it takes them to a Google form. They can click here and view the infographic if they forgot the norms. And then it says what we're doing. And sometimes there's a fun activity with some other links. There's a how to use this on the blog as well. And I know Megan's created some amazing things for our district that she's more than willing to share with us as well. And one more thing on this screen. For my reading groups, this is kind of how I run it as a third grade teacher. So that way when I look at it, all these agendas, like I just showed you, I go into File Page Setup and I do color them. So that way as a teacher, it's pretty organized so I can tell which group I'm meeting with. And then again, you can take these and link them to your Meet attachments when you generate a meeting. So I think, Megan, that pretty much covers how to use Meet and a little bit behind the crazy of organizing it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So one of the things that Melissa was mentioning that is in this presentation that if you want it, it's called the Google Meets Hangout Guide. If you go and click on that, that's slide 4. It will take you to a guide that you are more than welcome to share with others at your school site or in your district. Basically, that is everything that Melissa just showed you, just in a Google Doc with a video on how to do it or step-by-step instructions with GIFs or GIFs or however you want to say that. So you can just kind of scroll through here, share that with your site. It's got links to some different extensions. Oh, Melissa, do you have can you show the nod reactions in Gridview extension real quick? Do you want to?
So to show the grid view, you mean the extension itself or how it what it looks like when it's up?
Well, we probably won't be able to show the grid view actually because we won't have a lot of people on it. But basically it looks like this. So if you're familiar with one feature in Zoom that people like a lot is the ability to do grid view. There is an extension. It's linked in here. I'll also throw it into the comment section as well. So that's for grid view. Basically what that does is that allows you to put it in kind of a Brady Bunch mode. And that way you can see everybody at once, which is a feature I really like. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Megan, I'd like to go over, I was just noticing some of the live comments. So someone was asking again how to access the presentation. So maybe we could throw that in there again, just in case.
Got it.
And then someone was asking about, I think it was Isabel, about the captions in foreign language. Since Google does translations, I have not tested it. I don't speak in a foreign language, but I'm assuming it would probably do your captions in a different language. Megan, do you know anything more about that?
Yes. Yeah, I responded to her above, and I believe what it says is that you can actually change the language in the options menu. So you go to those 3 dots, and it looks like you can change the language, and it should pick up on that language. I haven't tested it out, but that's a great question. So I believe so. I did Google that, and it said it was a possibility.
And then our good friend Jen was asking about, and I saw that you responded, but we will definitely get to the extension installation links when they are in the presentation. So we have a slide for that.
Cool. And I just threw them into the comment section as well. So grid view is in there, and nod reactions is another one I just threw in. It's kind of hard. I'll just try to zoom in here just so you guys can see what it looks like.
Do you want me to show nod reactions after you show that grid view, what it looks like?
Well, grid view, I think we can kind of see right here. I don't know that we're going to be able to test that out real well. But yeah, if you can show nod reactions, that'd be awesome because that's a really cool tool.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to actually go back into this link here. So your nod reactions, it's linked in the Chrome store, and there's that tactic. I want to say tic tac, but it's tactic, and it pops up pretty much every time. It looks like to remind you that if you want to use it, you can. So when I join here, what you see. Oh, and FYI, if you add in one of these extensions when you are in the Meet, it will not show up. So what I tell people when I'm doing PD on Meet is I show them how to add it, then I ask them to exit and then to come back into the meeting and it will appear. So that grid view one that she showed you, It's just me, so you won't see a grid, but you have it here so you can turn it on and off, and you can choose these options. And if you turn it off, it just goes back to that default look of Google Meet. So here's the nod reaction. And when it comes up, when you click on that, it will show anyone who has this extension, it will show them that I just raised my hand. If someone does not have the extension, it will not show them that I'm raising my hand. Once that you've noted that, you can close it. And here is the other option, thumbs up, wow, LOL, or well done. So those are all of the reactions once that you do that nod reaction that show up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's a really great tool too. If you have quite a few students on a chat, and just for them to be able to raise their hand that way, to be able to ask their questions rather than a whole bunch of people unmuting themselves at once. Definitely a great extension, and extensions are super easy to add on. One thing I will say is that just depending upon how your district has it set up, you might have to ask for things to be whitelisted or opened up if they aren't automatically opened up. Sometimes they're just open to teachers, and teachers can add anything on, and then they might have to request it to be open to students. So that's definitely something to kind of keep in the back of your mind when it comes to extensions.
And just to interject, if you're in our district in Hesperia Unified and you're wondering, right now those are both whitelisted. So just if you're on and you're wondering.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, we are going to jump into Zoom for a moment. And there's a lot of features that are very similar to Google Meet in here. So I'm just going to show you a couple different ways that you can access it. It seems like with any tech tool, you can really access it in two different ways. So first way with Zoom is I really like the app menu, but I also see a lot of benefit from the website. So I'll show you both. So this is the app. I am currently on a PC. So you can download this on either PC or Mac, and you can start a meeting in a couple different ways. So if you just wanted to start a quick meeting and you wanted to share that new meeting with somebody, you could click new meeting, and it's going to automatically open up. And I'm working on two different screens here. And you can see that it automatically pops up. It might not like my video right now just because of the fact that, here we go, let's try that. I've got two cameras on at once. Yeah, it's not liking that my other camera's on. So we're just gonna have to pretend. But that is one easy, short way to just start a Zoom right away. If you wanted to invite somebody, you could come down to the invite option. You could choose contacts. You could email it out to somebody. Or down here at the bottom, which tends to be the most popular way, is to copy the URL. All right. If there is a password, you might need to copy that as well if it doesn't automatically copy, because that is a feature in Zoom, is that you can set up a password, okay? So I'm going to kind of pop out of this. Actually, we'll stay in here for a second, and I'll show you some of these things, and then I'll show you how to set it up otherwise through the website and how to schedule it. So when you're in here, you're going to see that a lot of these features are very, very similar to Google Meet in that you can share your screen. There is a chat option. You can record. There are reactions very similar to what Melissa was just showing us with nod reactions, and they actually kind of show up in the top left as well. You can turn on your video, turn off your video. You can even set up, and this is a feature that's pretty cool, breakout rooms. This could be very, very helpful if you need to do any sort of groups, but you could have breakout rooms set up either automatically or manually. So I can't really show you right now because I don't have anybody in this Zoom call. But if I set it up automatically, I could say, okay, we'll break this up into 4 different rooms, and it's going to take however many people you have in there and break it into 4 different rooms. If it's manually, then you can actually kind of drag drop and choose what rooms you want them to be in. So I would say that these are kind of the big features in here. You can manage your participants. You can choose to mute people. If you have a lot of people in a call at once, like say maybe you're doing a big staff meeting or something like that, you could mute all at once. Or you could just mute individually. You could turn off people's video. You've got a lot of kind of power there, for lack of a better word. In the more section, you can see some other things. that you can set up here as well, such as you could mute participants on entry. So that means when they're entering your call, it can be muted. You can have it play an enter or an exit chime. You can allow people to unmute themselves, or you can not allow them to do that. You can have participants rename themselves. You can lock the meeting. There's even the ability to put them in a waiting room on entry, which is one that I really suggest. That is a really good tool to use. And basically that says that until the host starts the meeting, nobody is able to enter, which is a really nice feature. So that is just kind of some of the basics of Zoom right there. I'm going to end this meeting and show you guys how to schedule it real quick. Okay, so I could also schedule my meeting. And when I click schedule, it'll give me a whole bunch of different preferences and how I want to set this up. I can set up the specific date, the start time, how long it's going to be, if it's going to be half an hour, if it's going to be an hour. I can choose to use my personal meeting ID, which you will have if you have a Zoom account, or generate one automatically, which I kind of like that to be unique each time. That's a little bit more secure. And mine does require a password. I am guessing that it automatically chooses this for me because I have an EDU account, and it's not allowing me to choose anything besides that. I have to have a meeting password. I can set up the type of video if we want it on or off. You can even choose how to send it via calendar. So this is kind of how a lot of people you'll see right now are using the Zoom calls with calendar. So I'm just going to schedule this one as a test. I'm just going to call it Megan Kelly Zoom meeting. It's going to schedule. And I need to just choose which email address that is going to be on. And then that should pop up right over here. So you'll see that it will pop up momentarily on my calendar. So that is a super nice feature. It does take a moment for it just to show up, but once it does show up, it will show up in my calendar as well as on the screen right here. Okay. Another place that you could schedule, and personally, I like the app menu here the best. It just seems a little bit more user-friendly to me, and the integration in with Google Calendar is really nice as well. But you can schedule meetings through the Zoom website as well. So through Zoom, you could come to their website, which is just zoom.us. You can come in and you can choose to schedule a new meeting, and you're going to see all those same preferences that we just went through a moment ago. So that all is pretty much the same. You would set up your meeting. It will add to your calendar. It can be Google Calendar. It can be Outlook, or you can just snag the URLs from those and share them out with your participants as well. So again, a lot of these features and the way that Zoom works is very similar to Google Meet. There's a few extras that they've gotten there, but that's kind of our whole goal for this next section, is to really jump in and to do a comparison of both of them. So feel free to throw any questions that you have into the comments right now. And then Melissa, do you have anything to add on to Zoom right now?
No, not really. Just use what you see is going to be best for your classroom, what your district allows, and what's going to work in your management. I think that the management of it is the most important piece. Remembering, just like in the classroom, that any tool is not necessarily the focus, right? But the management is, and the strategies that you're using.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then I know there was a really good comment that somebody just shared in there too, was that Zoom changed their default settings to enable passwords on your meetings and turn on waiting rooms by default effective today. So that's a really great thing that was not enabled before. It looks like that's default settings now. So that just adds a little bit extra layer of security. So thank you for sharing that comment. What I'm noticing a lot with Meet and Zoom and just in general, a lot of different technology tools right now is some of the ways that they're doing things are changing daily, or different preferences that they have are changing so quickly as distance learning is becoming so apparent and so real in our lives. So just stay tuned. I feel like even as we tell you these things, there might be a whole bunch of different stuff in 1 week.
Yeah, next week this will all be different. Tomorrow will all be different.
All right. So we're going to jump into just some of these comparisons. And again, I just, like Melissa was saying, want you to pick what you feel like is best for your students and best for your instructional practices. So Melissa, we can just kind of alternate talking about these slides. The first one is about the number of participants. Right now, Google Meet has a max of 250 participants. Normally, that's 100 people. Right now, it's been lifted due to COVID up to 250. Whether that's going to stay 250 or not, I'm not sure. They have said that some of these things are going to kind of go back July 1st, 2020, but we'll kind of see where that happens. For Zoom, there's a max of 100 on the free version. However, if you pay, you can get up to 1,000 with the paid option.
Right, so the time, a Google Meet is unlimited time for however many people are in the meeting, and it offers that pretty consistently. Zoom, it varies, the unlimited for one-to-one meetings on your time, but 40 minutes for groups, and that's under the paid plan. And the reason why we're kind of looking at that is because when we teach teachers and students how to use a tool, we're thinking of the longevity of it. We don't know how long this is all going to be available for Zoom. But once we teach the kids, and we may have to go back to free, that's just an important thing to note. So you'll see that on a lot of our slides. We've referenced the free. Right now, due to COVID, the 40-minute time limit has temporarily been lifted on Zoom.
So pricing, with both of them, they have their free and paid options. And basically, a lot of the features with Google Meet are open for all school districts to use right now. And then if you are a G Suite district, then these features are already free and they're already part of what you have within your normal suite. Like we said before, and we're going to keep referencing, is that there could be some of these features that go away for Google Meet effective July 1st, 2020. Similar to Zoom as well, we just there wasn't a specific date that we could find on that. If anyone does know that, please feel free to throw that in the comments. For Zoom, at this point, there's a lot of features that are free for you to use. Their tiered plan, though, is somewhere between $15 and $20 a month per user. And then, obviously, like most companies, if they have a larger contract, they might have school district or company plans tiered in a different way.
So scheduling the meetings, as you saw in Google Meet, you can schedule the meetings through the meet.google.com, or you can even do it on your Google Calendar, which is kind of an easier way to generate it. On Zoom, yes, meetings can be scheduled via the website and the application, and the meeting can be added to various calendars. So if you're not a Google Calendar, sit there.
Perfect. And let me see. I wanted to see if my thing showed up yet. I don't think it did. All right. So to continue on, password protected meeting. This is where, as you've kind of seen on the previous ones, they've all been very similar in what they offer. This is where Google Meet does not have password protection, but Zoom does have a password protection. With Google Meet, there is no sort of way to really necessarily password protect it. There are some ways that you can make it a little bit more secure. And I might let Melissa talk about that and some of the ways that she's doing right now with some of her students. With Zoom, there is the ability to password protect, as you saw in those settings menu. Melissa, do you want to share a couple of the ways that you're trying to kind of add some security if you're using Google Meet?
Yeah, so Google Meet it's a G Suite tool. So if your domain is allowing you to use Google Meet and you find it in your waffle for your district, then your admin in the admin settings, like in your IT department, they can set it up for different things to happen on the student end and the staff end. So there are some safeguards on there. So even though it's not password protected, today I had a parent meeting to front load our week to parents so that they could be involved. But the parents, they don't have our HUSD domain. So I actually had to accept them into the meeting as the administrator on the meeting. It would show, and if I didn't accept them into the meeting, then they could not join. So it is a little bit controlled on that end as far as the settings that you have set up in the admin console in your district.
Awesome, thank you. All right, you want to jump into the waiting room one?
Yeah, so this is a big question because talking about Zoom, yes, Zoom has a waiting room. And so then students are not in there before the meeting happens. So when you have a scheduled meeting, if the teacher is not there who scheduled the meeting, then the student cannot go in until the teacher starts it. So with Google Meet, we put sort of. So there is an update that's supposed to be rolling out that somewhere it stated something about the students not being able to click on the join and enter the room until that the teacher who created the meeting is in there with that particular link. So right now, it looks like students can get in, at least in our domain when we've tested it. But the way that I've worked that around is just like classroom management purposes. Once I schedule them, I grab my links and I throw it into my Gmail and I email my students. I actually go through Google Classroom under people. And for my small groups, I have them all scheduled for this week. So I go and I send an email to the kiddos and I say, your reading meeting time with me this week is on Monday at 9:45. Here's the link. But I do not press send. I schedule it. So they will not see it until 9:35 since their meeting's at 9:45. So they have no way to join that particular Google Meet until they get that email. So I do it through email. I don't do it through calendar where they can see the link. I send them their link. It's on my calendar, but I didn't put it on theirs with the link just for that reason, because that's going to safeguard if the update doesn't come and, we have questions about, is the update going to work if I already created those links and all those questions. So to work around that, I just scheduled the emails. So when I'm in a group with another child, they're not hanging out in that group without me there because they did not know that link. I do not post that link publicly. I schedule it 10 minutes before our meeting, knowing I'm already in the room. I think that's good on that one, Megan.
Yeah, and Zoom absolutely does, and I think you did touch a little bit on that, but Zoom does have a waiting room. That one is very specific to when the host or the teacher starts the meeting, then you can enter in. One thing we were talking about before we had this meeting too is that, let's say that you wanted to have a meeting with parents. I know that Melissa noticed this the other day and she was sharing this with me, that if they were coming from outside of the district domain, it did kind of put them a little bit in a waiting room that they couldn't just click join now and join. She actually had to admit them in. Is that correct? Or had to start the meeting? Okay.
Yes. So anyone outside the domain has to be given the permission by the person that's in the room. The teacher in the room has to give the permission.
So I think that's kind of a nice security tool, because then at that point, you know that there's really not going to be any like random people from the outside world jumping in without your permission. It kind of keeps it into your district. If you are a G Suite district, then it's just those people that can join in at that time unless they have permission otherwise. Mm-hmm. All right. Breakout rooms we talked about a little bit already. Google does not offer this. Could you do a workaround? As with most technology, absolutely. You could create, and kind of like Melissa was talking about earlier, different Google Meet rooms, and they all have their different URLs, and then students can join those, and you have access to all of those, so you can go in and out of each of those. Zoom does this automatically through their breakout room option that was at the bottom of that menu that you noticed earlier. That's a pretty easy way to do it, and you can set that up either automatically or manually. Okay.
Okay, so screen sharing. In Google Meet and Zoom, you can screen share. Only one user can share in Google Meet at a time. And in Zoom, multiple users can share at the same time. And then you can also annotate the screen. If you want to annotate and you're in Google Meet, There are extensions. I know Megan had mentioned one. It's called Page Marker, right? Is that the one that you had said?
Correct.
Yes, and then there's also Jamboard up in the waffle, which is kind of like a whiteboard, like a digital whiteboard that you can share. So you kind of have to do a little bit of a workaround, and in Zoom, you can annotate on the screen.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, chat features. Both of them have a live chat feature that is included when they enter the Meet. With Google Meet, it's all public and everybody can see what everyone is writing to each other. Zoom has a live chat to everybody, but then you could also send personal messages to individual people within that Zoom meeting. So let's say Melissa and I were in a staff meeting and I needed to send something just to her. I could send something directly just to her in that meeting. One cool thing that Google does is that they actually save the recording of the meeting into a folder called Meet Recordings. And so that is a really great tool as well.
The actual chat recording, it saves in a Google Doc.
Awesome.
Okay, so the recording of the videos. So yes, you can record your videos in both of them. In Google Meet, you can record, and then depending on how it is set up in the admin console, others may be able to turn it on and off. So for Megan and I, if we're in the same Google Meet in our district, we're both staff members, so we can turn that record on and off. But we believe that the students right now, it's set to where that they cannot. Those recordings then get saved into your drive under the folder called Meet Recordings, and they go under whatever that you named it in your Google Calendar or in your Google Meet, like in meet.google. Anyone who was in that recording automatically gets that recording link shared with them, which is really amazing for if you're doing like PD, because then people can go back and rewatch it if they needed you to repeat something. In Zoom, yes, you can screen record too. Only the host, the teacher, can start and stop the recording in that one. And Megan, I'm kind of unsure on the sharing settings for the recorded videos. I'm pretty sure it downloads to your computer, and then you have basically you have to go through whatever means from there, right?
So Meet goes directly to your drive, but Zoom, it depends on what page or what features you have in it. So if you have the free version, it is going to save directly to your probably like your downloads folder, and then you're going to have to upload that to wherever it is that you want it to go. If you have some paid features, there is some cloud integration with that. But again, that is going to be a paid feature. I think that was kind of one of the mid-tier options. Okay. All right. Live captions. As Melissa showed earlier in Google Meet, they have a super great live captions option that is available, and it's incredibly accurate too. I always think it's really interesting how it even kind of picks up your tone. So if you're asking a question, and it'll kind of pick up that there should be a question mark at the end there. It made me note that I often end my sentences on too high of a pitch, and it makes it look like I have a lot of questions, so I should work on that. Now, Zoom, my answer on that one is sort of. There is a live or a closed captions option. They don't call it live captions because it's not taking your voice and putting it into words. Basically, someone has to be typing your words while that person is talking, and then it will show up on the screen. So if you're going to do that, find someone that is a very accurate and quick typer. So that is a little bit of a difference on them for the live captions.
And then for Gridview, that was one of the big things, because when Zoom came out and you saw all of these people screenshotting with the stay-at-home tags, and they were seeing everyone at once. And so that was an automatically available thing for Zoom. Well, we found this extension through some of our innovator friends that they were using, and it allows you to do that grid view. So the link is there for you. And what you would do is you could go to your Chrome store, your Chrome web store. You could search for grid view for Google Meet, and then click on the blue button that says add it to Chrome. If you click on the presentation link right there, then you'll just be able to add it to Chrome, because we've got it to where it's just going to take you right there.
Now, reactions, as you noticed before, there is reactions in both Google Meet and Zoom. with Google Meet, you just need to download the Nod Reactions extension. It is linked right there under Nod Reactions. So if you want to add that to yours, if you're going to use Google Meet, Zoom's is already built in and is ready to go.
And then access friendly. So Google Meet, it's G Suite friendly because it's in your little 9 squares at the top called the waffle. It's been there. A lot of people were not aware that it was there. It may or may not have been open for your specific district. But if you have a Google account, you have things, like YouTube channel and things you can set up. Well, Meet was one of them. So the improvements we've noted there for educators that as far as Meet updates, only meeting creators are supposed to be able to remove other participants. So when you click on someone's picture and you have the options to pin their picture, as a teacher administrator of the meeting, you would be able to hit a minus sign and kick them out. You would also be able to mute their mics, but not unmute them. For the meeting participants, it says that they will not be able to rejoin nicknamed meetings once the final participant has left. So once all of your students leave, the update that is being said to roll out within 2 to 3 weeks, and I believe the 3 weeks is this Thursday, it has said that as long as the teacher is the last one to leave the meeting, then the link expires and students cannot be in there. So we're still testing to see when that is all rolled out. With Zoom, you have to add an app, or you showed both, right? So
correct.
There is an added app that you can use. We're not so sure on the end date. We haven't seen that it's been announced how long that this is going on for the premium features to be available instead of just the free. They haven't always been available, so it's a big blessing that they're available for teachers right now. And automatically available in all meetings. What do we mean right there, Megan?
I don't know. I don't know if I added that piece in there. That might have been a bad copy from the previous slide. One thing I would say is that both of them also have mobile apps too. So that is a great thing, whichever one you choose to use is you can add the mobile apps to your phone. It's a great thing to kind of have it on the go if you need to. I can't tell you how many times I've had a moment where someone's like, hey, I need you to pop into this thing really quick. And if I'm not near my computer, I can pop into that meeting really, really quick. So it's a super great option to have that with you. So I would highly suggest just having them downloaded just in case you need it. Or like kind of pro tip, if you don't have dual monitors, I have dual monitors. I sometimes will put it on my phone so I can kind of watch it on my phone, but then still have my screen to look at too. So we do have a couple minutes for questions because we are here at the end of our presentation. So if you have any questions, we'll wait a few moments and answer those. Please throw those into the chat. If not, I'd even love to hear in the comments where you're leaning, Meet or Zoom. Again, I don't think either of us want to push you in either direction, but hopefully we've given you enough to think about. Melissa, any other things you want to share right now?
No. I think we're just all exploring a lot of kind of unknowns and trying to weigh in on what's best for kids. And depending on what you teach and how that you manage your classroom and what instructional strategies that you're using, we definitely see the positives to both sides of the coin. So I just think it's really important for you to find that niche as a teacher and just remember a lot about that management piece, that no tool is ever going to work perfectly. It's, no instructional strategies, or the instructional strategies have to be the forefront of what you're planning to do with these tools.
Awesome. Somebody asked if we will be sending the presentation out. So I will be sending an email out afterwards to those that had signed up. And that way I can share the presentation and then the final, basically this whole video if you want it. I will put the presentation back in the chat again. So I just sent it there. One question we had was, So the saving aspect into Google Meet recordings, does that make the discussion available for students who miss to watch it? Yes. So if you save or record in Google Meet, you can kind of upload that so that students can watch it. What I would say, and this is just the cautious part of me, is that I would ask students to turn off their cameras if you're doing any recording while students are in the video. That would be my suggestion. And I think I saw Melissa nodding her head a bit there too.
Yeah, I was just going to say verify with your school site and make sure what the protocol for recording with kids is. In some districts, they've had a lot of discussion on that. So in either platform, just know what your site and what your district prefers in that recording piece, because it's a really great feature. Like I said, for PD, it was amazing for adults who gave their consent. But when you're dealing with minors, just be cautious and make sure that you've checked your basis with your sites first.
It's great advice. All right. Any other questions? All right. I'm not seeing any more coming through. I'll give it one more minute. I do thank you guys all for going. I'm going to just throw up our information here at the end in case you need to reach out to either of us. We are going to do quite a few more webinars coming up. So we do have 2 more this week. If you have not joined that yet, I will drop a link to the sign up in there. And if you sign up for those webinars, then you'll get an email with a calendar invite for that specific webinar as well. And then we'll also be sending out a follow-up form just to let us know how we did and if you have any other things that you would like us to present on in the future. So I will drop those in here when we end this. And thank you all for joining us. Like I said, this is the first time we've done this, and I feel like it went pretty decent. Oh, we got one last question. Do students need to add the grid view and nod reactions as well as the host in order to be able to use them? Yes, they do. So, yeah, both sides.
So just make sure that is whitelisted with your district. And then once you give students the link, it's pretty easy for them to just click on and add to Chrome.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'll drop the last few things in this chat, and then I will also send some stuff out via email. Thank you for joining us.
Bye. Thank you.